All right, welcome to Built Different by Design. Today, we are doing a ride along with my framer, Jesus. What's up, Jesus?
What's up, guys?
Let's go. All right, so Jesus, where did the journey of a framer begin for you? Because this is a unique space to be in. When I was in school, I never heard anything or learned anything about framing or that I could be a framer. How did that start for you?
My dad did construction. My dad did siding at the time. And when I was in freshman year, he kind of pushed me to, hey, you ain't got nothing else to do? Come work. Learn the job. You never know, because at the time, I didn't know I was an illegal. I didn't have documents. So he was thinking for me, but hey, learn a trade, because you're not going to be going to college. You're not going to be doing a doctor. I'm sorry for you.
Okay. Well, he set you up on a great, I'm so impressed, because this is like the biggest Lego piece set you can ever think of framing a house. So what is your approach to framing? When you get a set of plans, what are some of the first things you look for to make sure that your job is going to be successful?
I look at the details that it has, because some of the details you gotta think, because you may run into a complication with something not adding up, because architects design very pretty things, but they're not the ones always doing it on the field. There is some architects that do the whole scope. They'll build that whole house, sell a plan. Some of them just behind a computer got programs. As long as it works, it works. But on the field, they may not work.
Right. We've experienced that for sure. So when you notice that it's not working, how are you pivoting? How do you communicate with your builder or client when you have to pivot?
I try to do a little bit of my studying before, whenever you give me the plan, and I might see if there is an issue. If it's an issue, I'll try to do it before we get to the actual framing stage. When we're about to pop the line, hey, this window here, you're ordering a 10-foot window, but you only got a 9-foot ceiling. Like, it's not going to add up. It would have to go up above the attic space, or I'll try and help you out if you're dead set on the plan.
Right.
But if there's some wiggle room, I can suggest or help you out with my experience. I'm glad to do it. It just depends if you're willing to take it.
Okay, so you said something that I wasn't familiar with before I started construction. Pop the lines. What is popping the lines?
It's basically, there's a footprint from the plan, which if it's a slab, I'm making sure that everything on the foundation side matches to the plan accordingly. So if you got a back porch that's lowered 3 inches, I gotta double check it to make sure my porch is not gonna end up being on the outside or on the inside too much. That way we're like, hey, do you want to make this bigger, or is this gonna be too small for you? We gotta discuss it.
Right. So when we're going through that, when you're in the pop the line phase, who all should be there?
My builder, me, the framing crew, and if you have an architect that designed the plan, he could be here too.
Okay.
Just to give suggestions and maybe alternatives.
Gotcha.
That we can all discuss and come along with a good answer.
Okay, cool. So I want to backtrack just a little bit about understanding framing and how you actually got into the business. And so there may be somebody out there who is interested in starting a framing company, but they don't even know where to start. Is this something that anyone can start, or how would someone new go about starting a framing company?
Oh, that's a very good question. The way I see it now, I would say it's easier to get your hands on it. If you get your hands on it and work with someone that does the framing, you'll know what a king stud is, you'll know what a header is, you'll figure out the things ins and out of framing, and then once you're in it, you can decide if that's something you really truly want to pursue. Because I would say this, it's not made for everybody. You're in the sun all day, you're dealing with people most of the time, and then sometimes stuff doesn't add up. You got to have the patience, and you got to come up with solutions. You got to have a little bit of expertise to say, hey, this doesn't work, but let me give you the solution. Let's move on.
Yeah. So how did you know it was for you?
How did I know it was for me? I did it after I graduated. After I became, thanks to the whole DACA, I got my paperwork. I went to a community college. I was gonna try and do nursing or either a lawyer. And when I was there for about a year and 6 months, I'm like, I'm just spending money here and I'm not really learning anything. I'm like, the input they're giving me, I have to kind of really read it and figure it out. And I'm not that person. I like hands-on. When I was working with my dad, I'm like, I like how we can put stuff together and it looks nice at the end of the day. So I left that, and my dad at that time, he was doing framing. So I just like, hey, you gotta work for me? He's like, yeah, if you want to work, you sure this is what you want? I'm like, let's see how it works. We made good money. I'm like, it pays my bills and I can make a living off of this. Let's go for it.
Right. And it worked.
And it worked.
Yeah, it worked all right. Okay. So today has been quite a day for you. To walk us through a typical day as a lead framer or a business owner of a framing company. Oh, that was a big
my
deep
schedule, I would say it just depends on how I did the schedule. Depending on who I'm working with at the time. We also do production homes. Like the production homes or in subdivisions, they're pretty much a set schedule. I'm not too worried about those. The ones I worry about, I try to focus on are the custom builds. And as on my end, I would see on what custom build I'm attacking at the time and seeing if there's any issues with that. Because some plans, they're architects, they can make something really nice, really pretty, but on the field it does not add up. And then sometimes they don't accommodate for point loads or something being like an LVO, like the situation we were in earlier. Some LVOs have to be a certain width, height wise, to pass the load that you're gonna keep building upwards. If it's a modern slab, only a ranch house, is pretty much basic framing. I'm not too worried about that. What I worry about on my end is making sure everybody's getting the schedule set, making sure we're completing the work, making sure that the work is being done sufficiently in time manner, and making sure we have the materials needed. That way we don't get stopped.
Right.
And we don't lose time on building the house.
Right. Hence why we're in the car right now. So you are the person who just goes out and manages the materials so your guys can just focus on that one thing. How that seems kind of tiring. Like,
it can be. It really can be. It just, there's good days, there's bad days. There's good days like during the week, be able to get the material the next day. But on a Friday or Thursday, right now we run into that situation. We may get delayed. We may not work Saturday. We may have to come back until Monday or Tuesday, depending on the lumberyard.
Right. So you said something earlier about the difference between a production build and a custom build. The architectural plans, how different are they from a production company or a high volume builder versus what you see in our custom plans?
Good question. I say on the production side, they have already done a test run on a house. They already have the model done, and they tweak it. They change whatever didn't work out, and then they just change it from there. Because on most subdivisions, the only thing that changes is the front elevation. Where the windows are at, you might have more windows. You may have a side porch overhang. On some, you may not even have a porch. And on the custom side, well, there's a lot more details. What windows are going in, because most of the time you're getting custom windows, doors. On a production home, everything's usually 9 and 8, or either 10 and 9. Simple build. They're not doing 10-foot ceilings. They're not doing 12-foot ceilings. They're not doing a bunch of wide space loft areas where you got a nice 20-foot ceiling. You gotta double check on what's going around there. If you got this big window, big door, making sure you still got space on the second floor to where it matches up to them design.
What should builders be talking to their architects? How should the conversation go when we're making the plans to make it, when we're handing it over to our framer? So I just want to understand, what are we missing in the planning phase with the architect that would help improve what we produce as builders?
I would say they'll give you the frame details, they'll give you a slab detail or foundation detail, but when it's a true custom build, they don't know all the ins and outs of every electrical phase, every HVAC, every plumbing phase. because plumbing is self-explanatory, but sometimes depending on where it's at, they may have a problem with a recessed flooring, or maybe that didn't get delayed. Hey, my vision was to do a recessed flooring. Now you just got a typical bathroom. Put it all in paper and make it look nice, but a full-scale detail of every detail you're going to go through, so you can kind of avoid any kind of problem you might run into.
Would you, as a framer, would you want to be involved in those conversations at some point?
I have no problem with it, because I consider myself one of the good framers. But then there's some people that may be like, oh, you're doing too much, because everybody's trying to build and just get paid.
Right.
They just, once they get it done, they're already trying to move to the next one. But I'd rather build a relationship with such person if they're going to keep on building houses. If they're only doing one house, I'll try to help as much as I can from my experience. If I can give you some input, I'll try and give it to you beforehand.
Right.
Once I'm looking at it, that way maybe it can help something that may not be in the budget, but maybe it'd be beneficial to you to add on to the build.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, so we're here. What are we getting at this store?
Framing nails.
Framing nails. Gotcha.
We're here.
Okay, so educate me on what we just picked up from the store.
We picked up framing nails for the interior walls. 3-inch by 121. It's our framing nails. Bought some 2 3/8 nails. They're 121 degree as well, but they're just shorter. But they got rings all upwards, so technically they connect better to the wood. You don't want to have 3 inches hit a plumbing pipe or some electrical cable when they're 2x4 walls. Even though you got 2x6s, I would rather use the 2 3/8 nails for the sheathing and the subfloor versus a 3-inch nail that could still go maybe hit something in the inside.
Yeah.
But there's always a chance of someone else always. So we just use those framing nails for that reason.
Gotcha. Okay, you made a distinction in the store about galvanized versus non-galvanized.
Galvanized nails are more high-end just because they resist the exterior longer. For exterior use, decks, anything that you're going to leave open on the outside, any kind of trim work that's still outside and getting exposed to the sun and water, you want galvanized.
So that's good to know. So if someone is working with the contractor and they're having something exterior done and your contractor doesn't get...
For example, I'll use a fence company.
Right.
If they don't use the right nails, if they're not galvanized, you'll see all the little drainage from the nails after they're starting to get rusted. And technically they still built the same fence, they still did the same work, but they got the cheaper nails because it saves them maybe potentially $1,000.
No, literally $1,000, because we just saw the price difference between the two.
Yeah, correct.
Interesting. That's good to know, especially for someone who is very new and don't really understand the importance of using quality versus looking at the price every time. Sometimes people can get caught up just being concerned about the price.
Sometimes maybe they give you an invoice, it still looks the same, they didn't specify galvanized versus non-galvanized, and you may be like, well, this quote's cheaper, but they're using, you don't know that they're using cheaper material versus the person that he also didn't just say they're galvanized, but maybe at his price point, maybe it could be. It's just depending on the discussion. You don't know. I would always ask what they're using and what's what.
So now we just waiting for them to load up your truck. What kind of truck? Because this thing is huge.
It's a 3500 single wheel Denali.
So how much can you pull with this?
I could pull 32,000 pounds, I believe.
32,000 pounds. I mean, if you're gonna do it, might as well do it big, right?
You can pull in an excavator.
Nice.
Connect the gooseneck trailer. We can go anywhere.
Okay, so now I want to get into understanding, because a lot of the audience are going to be people who are new investors, new to building. They might be having their home currently built right now. What are some things they can actually look for in the framing process that would probably help with the integrity of their home down the line?
Exterior walls. The exterior walls maybe in the plan does not call for 2x6s. Most homes are built with 2x4s, but on newer, higher, I would always say at 2x6 walls, you get more foam insulation, and you could save a lot on your electric bill.
Okay, makes sense. So, what are your top 3 things if you were building your house that you would be paying attention to?
exterior walls, and I would say door heights and ceiling heights.
Okay, now you got to tell me why.
Door heights, because you can have a 10-foot ceiling, and then in the plan it shows a 6'8" door. If you're paying top dollar, I would rather spend a little more on a taller door, because I got a taller ceiling. It just makes it look so much better.
Got you.
Why go so high and not have an elevated look?
Got you. Okay, so here on Built Different by Design, we have the tradition where the last guest leaves a question for the current. And so our last guest question was, if you could talk to your younger self and give your younger self some advice that would help redefine your business 10 to 15 years from now, what would that be?
I would say when I was younger, I'm grateful that my dad taught me what he taught me, but on a long scale, I didn't really listen to him a lot. I just did it just to do it. Because right at a certain point, once I found out I didn't have documents, I'm like, well, this may have to be my life. I looked at it negatively, and whenever I got my paperwork, once I came and got papers and all that, I'm like, what am I doing? I said I was going to do, I was upset about something that he was teaching me at the time, that I wasn't taking all the knowledge. I should have taken advantage of his knowledge when he had the time to teach me more. Now he's more of he got grandkids, he's more relaxed. I'll give you a piece of advice. Maybe just listen to someone else that has a little bit more wisdom than you.
That's some good advice. All right, Jesus, we've had a great conversation. I appreciate your time. So what question would you want to leave for the next guest?
That's a good one. I would say, what can a framer do, or just in the general field, what can we as people do to communicate better that may not get communicated to everybody else?
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate your time.
I really appreciate you.
All right. Well, that's a wrap, y'all.